Greetings, viewers. Welcome to the final edition of this season's Pelican Pride, a proud production of the University of the West Indies Alumni Association Dominica Chapter. This initiative has placed the spotlight on selected distinguished alumni who have left a lasting impact in their respective field. In previous editions, we had the honor of featuring pioneer Dr. Hazel Shillingford Ricketts, the iconic Lady of Song Ophelia Marie, and community leader the Honorable Cozier Frederick. Today, we turn our attention to yet another remarkable figure, former Judge Justice Wynante Adrien-Roberts, who has made significant contributions to law in Dominica and across the region. Join us as we trace her journey from her early beginnings at UWI-Kville in the 1990s to a distinguished and impactful career. We sit with Justice Wynante Adrien-Roberts in the tranquil coastal community of Point Michel.
Well, I'm Wynante and I come from the village of Point Michel where we are actually recording this. I am the daughter of Hortensia and William Adrien, both deceased. I first attended the St. Luke's Primary School and then I moved to the Convent High School. From the Convent High School, I attended the Sixth Form College, which has transitioned several times and is now the Dominica State College. After my education in Dominica, I pursued a degree in law at the University of the West Indies, Kville campus. I did my professional legal education certificate at the Norman Manley Law School. I was married, now divorced. I have two beautiful children, Alex Marie and Alicia, and I am Dominican roots woman. That's how I regard myself, as someone rooted in Dominica, rooted in Point Michel. I say rooted in Point Michel because I grew up in Point Michel. My whole life has been in Point Michel. I've not lived for any significant time outside of Point Michel, except when I lived outside of Dominica itself. Originally, my passion was to go into medicine, actually. But having worked at the hospital for a few summers, I wasn't sure that that was the kind of environment that I wanted to work in. So then, in those days, you look to see what profession is best suited for your academic background. And law was like the second. I did not find it so difficult at the time because there was a challenge program here in Dominica which I pursued. So I could do the challenge during that year to determine whether or not I really wanted to continue into the legal profession. And having started the challenge, I must admit I fell in love with the law, and now I could not see myself doing anything other than the law. So the whole experience of UE was amazing. But what I will tell you is, to be a good leader, you need to know the subject matter with which that you're dealing. You need to know the area that you're working in. You need to have knowledge of your work. And I believe that is what I got from UE, a very sound background in law at the University of the West Indies. Doing an LLB, I acquired the knowledge of the law. I saw some lecturers at UE. I met some lecturers, like we had the late Susan Fox, who taught equity and trust. And she had such a deep knowledge of the subject. And then I can also recall persons like the Honorable Mr. Justice and Andrew Burgess, who taught me revenue. And these persons were so knowledgeable. I looked at them as icons really of the law, that I want to aspire to be like them. I wanted to aspire to have that kind of knowledge that, like you would ask a question and they had the answers like at the tip of their fingers. So for me, I wanted to be like them, to know the law like them. So I read law at the University of the West Indies, and the university afforded me the opportunity to pursue legal education, not just in a vacuum, but to actually look at the law in so many different ways, so many different perspectives. So you did not get just one perspective, you were able to discuss the law. Now, the other thing that you need as a leader is the skill. And I think that is what I acquired from the Norman Manley Law School when I did my legal education certificate. So the knowledge and the skill that you require to excel in any leadership position is what you would have gotten from the University of the West Indies. I mean, I have to be honest, at the time I became a lawyer, there were several women lawyers in Dominica already, and these were very well recognized. So there was already an acceptance of women in the law and women doing great things. I mean, we can think of Mary Eugenia Charles. She was a lawyer. She became the Prime Minister of Dominica. Actually, she's from Point Michel. And they made such significant contributions to law, to society, that I think at the time that I came into law, persons were no longer looking at women as probably second to men, but looking at them as equals. So I came just at the tip of the transition period where women were now being seen as significant contributors, not only to law, but to society. Even when I was called to the bar, I remember I was the only female and the other person was a male. But prior to me being called to the bar the year before, there was another female. So there was like every year, at least one. Now, the majority are women. And I think we had a woman Chief Justice of the OECS. So women have made such significant progress, I would say, and significant contributions to law, in Dominica, to the OECS, in fact to the world at large now, that I don't think that I was challenged really. I think it was a time, actually it was a perfect timing for me, that I think it would be a time where I would be welcomed into the profession. My family has been extremely supportive. Without my family, I don't think I would have been able to do it. When I left Dominica in 2015, my daughter, my last daughter, I had to leave her behind. And that was for me very traumatic. However, I must say her father stepped in. He stepped up to the plate and he did everything that he could, continuity for her education and everything. So for that, I'm very grateful. Prior to that, I didn't leave Dominica at any other time. So most of my families were supportive of my career in Dominica, insofar as I worked late. So there was always someone at home to take care of the children when they were small. There was always somebody to pick them up, to feed them. So many times I would travel, like for short stints, even for 1 week. There was always someone at home. My mom, my aunts, all of them now deceased, but they played a significant part in my children's upbringing and taking care of them while I was away. My mom has been a stalwart. I mean, when my dad passed, we were all very young, and she cultivated in us discipline. She cultivated some very good moral values, and I think that is what has carried me through. Most importantly for me, and I always said, if my mom had one thing to leave for me, it would be her faith in God. And I think I'm trying to pass that on to my children. God will take care of it. So I think for me, that is, my mom wasn't, she didn't attend high school, but she had such strong moral values. She was so disciplined in everything that she did. I think that is, what she taught us and what we took from her. Mm-hmm. My two daughters are my pride and joy. I mean, you can see the expression on my face when I tell you that this children has brought me so much. I mean, I feel like my wealth is in them. Whatever wealth that I have is right there in front of me. Alex Marie attended boarding school. From the convent high school, she attended Andover in Massachusetts, and from there she went to the Harvard University. Presently, she's pursuing medical degree at UMass Teach-In. Alicia also graduated with top honors in Grenada, where she spent 4 years. When I moved to Grenada as a High Court judge, I brought her with me. She too attended the Andover Phillips Academy in Massachusetts after high school, and then Harvard University. She'll be graduating next year. For me, I would say I was happy in the role of, I was happy nearly every role that I served in. Every role was different. Like as Solicitor General, it was dealing mostly with civil matters, going to court, advising the government. Most times I said at the Attorney General's chambers, it was like an ATM machine for legal opinions. Like a PS would come, a technical officer, anybody would just come in. They want a legal opinion. Now for now, it's like you push in a card and a legal opinion comes out. And I liked that, the vibrancy, I like this energy, you know, in having to always be thinking on your feet and for diverse matters. So you could be doing something today with, say, telecommunications and some regulatory matter, and then tomorrow you have to do something with migrants coming in to Dominica, whether they're following the law, or you have to do something to do with the public service. So you had to be on your toes at all times, knowing what you're going to answer, when you're going to answer it. As Director of Public Prosecutions, again, criminal law, I was not very excited, but I was happy in the position. So it didn't create that kind of excitement like that I had as a Solicitor General. Because for me, I believe in truth. And many times I came across persons who were willing to lie. And it happens a lot. And you hear about, you know, witnesses lying on the stand. And I think I came face to face with that reality more as a Director of Public Prosecutions than as a Solicitor General. But I would say too that one of the highlights of my public service would be when I worked in the International Business Unit and when I got Dominica off the blacklist. We all know that Dominica was listed by the Financial Action Task Force. It was blacklisted. A number of countries around the world were blacklisted because there were not enough anti-money laundering regulations within the law to buffer any kind of money laundering that would be taking place in Dominica. So we were blacklisted. And I remembered when I went to Miami to do a face-to-face in Miami with, I think Mr. Henry Dyer at the time was the Attorney General of Dominica. And when we went to do the face-to-face, really, we were not expecting to get off the blacklist. But I know I made a very passionate plea to the members of the Financial Action Task Force why Dominica should be removed. And it was only because I was very strong in my persuasion. It's not things that we had done, but things that we were promising to do. And that fell back, and I knew so much about it because I had just finished my master's degree program, and my thesis for my master's was Dominica Fights Money Laundering. So I had all the legislation, I had everything that we had to do. I knew what we were supposed to do. So when I came face to face with them, I was able to really put in a very good word for Dominica and show them that, look, we were ready, we were on target, and we were going to implement all the 40 recommendations that they had. And after the meeting, lo and behold, they said, oh, one of the islands, we're going to remove Dominica from the blacklist. So I think that was, I relived that experience, and I cannot tell you how much it meant to me to be able to get Dominica off that blacklist. Because at the time, it was really tarnishing our reputation, and especially in the financial sector, because we were trying to build our offshore sector at the time. So having us blacklisted would mean that we were not ready yet for offshore business. Law is very dynamic. You have legislations being changed all the time, so the law that would apply probably 20 years ago is not the law of today. As a young lawyer, it is expected that you look at this legislation to see how it is going to be updated. Maybe give your own views as to what you think, what recommendations can you make to update the law. Also, you look at judicial decisions, because the law is not only just the legislation, but how the judges interpret that legislation. And how does your legislation stand up to other legislation, say from England, from the UK? How is the law changing within your environment?
Viewers, we now bring the curtains down on this season's final episode of Pelican Pride. It has truly been an honor to hear the inspiring journey of former Judge Justice Wynante Adrien-Roberts. We extend heartfelt thanks to her for sharing her story. We also extend deepest gratitude to all our featured guests. Their stories have powerfully illustrated the impact of the University of the West Indies across the region. Special thanks to the UWI Alumni Association Dominica Chapter 2025, Dr. Kimon Joseph, Head of UWI Global Campus Dominica, and her dedicated staff, our wider UWI family, and you, our loyal viewers. This has been Pelican Pride, a celebration of legacy, leadership, and excellence. I am Kellyanne Stedman. Thank you for viewing. Until we meet again, walk with purpose, soar with Pelican Pride.